got a diatonic harmonica. It's a Hohner Special 20. It's in the key of D flat. I'm going to do a little demonstration here. If you want to learn blues in A flat on a C chromatic harmonica, and you're already a pretty accomplished blues diatonic player, I think this is the best place to start. We're going to look at breath patterns that are exactly the same. So I'm going to play some kind of characteristic cross harp patterns that are just breath patterns. There's no bending involved, just straight notes. And then I'm going to play the same thing on this instrument, the chromatic. So the slide is in. You may have heard this principle or this concept that a chromatic harmonica is two harmonicas jammed together. It's a C harmonica and a D flat harmonica. So it makes sense that just pushing the slide in and holding it in, and then I've got a D flat harmonica here, that these are going to kind of match up with some of these breath patterns. You may have heard me do this demonstration down a half step with a C harp, demonstrating cross harp in G on the chromatic. So anyway, we're just moving up a half step. Check it out. So just play a few phrases here. Starting on hole 3 here. Same breath patterns. The only thing that's different is that we move up one hole on the chromatic. So hole 3 becomes hole 4. Hole 4 becomes hole 5, and hole 5 on here becomes hole 6. I know that can mess with your head because we have associations with these hole numbers on the diatonic. Just don't even worry about it. Don't even look at the mouthpiece. Just put the chromatic up to your lips if you're trying to do this exercise with me. Don't worry about hole numbers. Just try to find the note and adjust if you need to. If you're too low, just move up the harmonica. If you went too high, move down. Anyway, starting from hole 3 here and hole 4 here, slide stays in. See, I messed up. I had to move down a hole. And how about exact same breath patterns, no changes except I'm moving up one hole on the chromatic. And how about double stops? How about warbles? So, incredibly useful if you are coming at this instrument from the diatonic harmonica, which I think most of us, that's how we did it. Just take what you know already and bring it over here. Same breath patterns. Great place to start to get acquainted with blues in A flat. How about this pattern? So if you're acquainted with getting around the major pentatonic scale on your diatonic harp, let's say it's close. And I am getting confused because I'm going back and forth because there's one modification that you got to make in that second octave. So that's going to be the same. And then in the second octave, that note on the diatonic, you stay there, and then play the next two blow notes. You stay there, and then on the chromatic, you got to move up one whole, which won't make any sense until you try it. But I'm saying if you're one of these kind of guys that's got a little bit of the John Popper thing going on in the second octave, and you could play. Why did I mention John Popper? It's just kind of like second octave cross harp stuff. And it's almost the same. I've been saying exactly the same for these other phrases. This one is almost the same. So here's the big thing that you got to realize, because A flat is closely related to G on the chromatic. I mean, it is a half step away. In this case, is not always the case. If you can play a major pentatonic on the chromatic, a good tune to demonstrate the major pentatonic is Amazing Grace. I'm not going to play it slow like everybody plays it really slow and reverently, just for purposes of demonstration, speeding the song up. So I'm in G now. To play that song in A flat, you use the same breath patterns holding the slide in. So just remember that if you can get around in the key of G on the chromatic, as far as this major pentatonic tonality, hold the slide in and you'll get the same thing. The big difference here with diatonic and chromatic, and the reason why I think players don't gravitate at first to cross harp, or you might call it second position, onto chromatic harmonica, is that there is not a draw. Let's go back to the key of A flat. Just leaving the slide pushed in. So we have all of this, right? We have some of these breath patterns that are the same as the diatonic. But then that draw root note that is cross harp, that is so satisfying to play, especially once you get a strong two-hole draw on the diatonic. You can put a lot of throat vibrato. You can bend it down a whole step or a half step. It's a strong feeling note, and it's not there on the chromatic. It's just a blow note, and it feels kind of like, oh, you've taken away something incredibly great. Now I got to play the root note of cross harp as a blow note. So again, the slide is pushed in. It's hole 3 blow. You just got to get used to blues in A flat, the root note always being a blow note. So that's a whole thing. I thought I might just bring this up with the whole concept of the same breath patterns. And I'm going into this a little bit unrehearsed, but let's see how this goes. So you can bend the major third down, and you can get that country sound, bluesy country sound on a chromatic. Isn't that crazy? Now, check this out. It's moving everything up a hole. And wow. you can bend the flat 7. Oh. Chromatic harmonica, not modified in any way. It's just a stock. This is a Kongsheng. I think it's pretty good, Kongsheng Lyra. And you could even bend, like we bend double stops. Again, the slide is pushed in. Does that not sound like a regular diatonic harp? I mean, you could freak people out. They'll be like, what? How are you getting that out of a chromatic? Now, then you learn all the other stuff. All the slide ornaments that you can do in this key. Getting to the flat 3 and getting around on the minor pentatonic is completely... There's a lot of things that are the same with the key of G, A flat and G. But when you start getting into flatting the 3rd and playing a minor pentatonic scale, it's really totally different. That's a whole other thing that you have to learn. I'm not doing a deep dive into the key of A flat on purpose, because I do have harmonica methods that I sell, and there's volume 1 and 2, and there's going to be a volume 3. And in volume 3, we're going to cover all the keys that I left out in the first 2 volumes. It's 4 keys per volume. So volume 3 is going to cover the kind of weirdo keys that are left over. And really, as it turns out, they're not that weird. A flat, which we're talking about now. And I do a whole thing where you play 3 different kinds of scales, and then you're arpeggiating things, and then we go into the blues lessons. So you're all kind of ready to go with the basic temperament under your lips. But then I will do an extensive deep dive into playing blues in the key of A flat, which I've just, I don't want to say I've scratched the surface. I've covered a good chunk of it, just even with this I've done so far. But anyway, volume 3 is down the road. I don't know when I'll get to it, but A flat, D flat, F sharp, and B. And there's cool things about all 4 of those keys. But is there anything else that I want to say about blues in A flat? I just love this thing that you can bring the cross harp element over. And, bending the double stops. I love that. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say. You could play most of those notes with the slide in, almost all the notes. Because of that, you have this extra degree of expression where you could do a grace note, a slide grace note. You attack the note without the slide. So, for instance, if I'm playing something like, let me just grab this. So, did you hear I put a grace note on the B? Is that a B? It's not a B. It's a C. You can put a grace note on the 3rd and the 5th. And this is one of the few keys where you could double stop grace notes. Anyway, the slide grace note, there's other things. There's a slide turn that you could do in this key. I just a teaser, and to get you going and to make you aware that there's a lot of even Chicago-style blues players who don't explore a lot of key positions are familiar with blues in G on a C harp. I mean, that's not unusual. And then it doesn't take long to figure out, hey, I can just hold the slide in and get some of that same stuff. So it's something to play around with. I was first introduced to the concept of even trying to play in the key of A flat on a C chromatic by Stevie Wonder. And um, of course, Stevie had that effect on me as I would listen to different solos he did and realize that he would be in a certain key that I never tried before. So I listened to what he did, and it helped me. Kind of an unusual track that you might not know about because he would make cameo appearances on other artists' things. So this was uh, John Gibson, who covered a Stevie Wonder song, but was like John is like buddies with Stevie Wonder, and said, "Hey, can you play a harp on my version of Have a Talk with God?" The original version, it was like overdubbed diatonics, and so for this appearance, he played uh, in the key of A flat on a chromatic, and it's educational listening to that. You might want to check that out. Check that track out if you don't know about it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.